moving on to the next side, and it's the favorite, dare I say. Avnish is not here; he's enjoying his vacation in Thailand. So, but we'll talk about RCB next, Dan. Again, similar to KKR, they did not have a lot of money going into the auction, so they were not very active. But whatever business they did, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so they brought in two English players, Will Jackson and Reece Topley, as their two overseas additions. Perhaps not a shock given the fact that they've got an English analyst and someone else at the ECB who works with them as well. So perhaps not a huge shock there. I think Topley looks like a kind of either or for Josh Hazelwood. And Jax is someone I rate really, really highly in terms of his future upside, brutal hitting. His bowling, I think, will not go so well at this level. It was quite slow spin, and I'd be surprised if he was used as really an option apart from against two left-handers, for example. But I do think that it was wise to look to try and find the closest version of Glenn Maxwell, who isn't Glenn Maxwell, at the auction, given Maxwell's injury problems right now. So, if Maxwell doesn't make it, Jax comes in and they don't have a lot of disruption because they're extremely skilled players. So, for me, yeah, those two overseas picks made sense. They also, in my view, needed some more domestic batting strengths for those sort of 3, 4, 5, 6 roles in general. I'm not still a massive buyer of Anuj Rawat, for example. Patidar should probably start, I would have thought. Not a massive buyer at this stage of a Lomraw, for example, as well. So there's a lot of domestic holes, I think, in the batting group. So let's see how they structure up. We can't expect Dinesh Karthik to have such a good season as he did last year. I don't think that's completely unfair to expect that to happen again. So for me, domestically, this RCB top 7 looks fairly weak, and it'll be interesting to see. I think a lot's going to be asked of Faf, Virat, and Maxwell again to get competitive scores, because I just don't see where the runs are going to come from domestically.
So then one more point. Faf, Kohli, DK, and Shahbaz, who were regulars in the top 7, all of their hitting against spin is not even par, let alone above par. And I don't seem to think for a moment that they did anything to resolve that in this auction.
No,
because they are going to start again, but the game is not going to change.
And Jax's weakness is probably the ball turning away from him as well. So there is just another player who has a similar dynamic to a large extent. And yeah, I think this is where you're quite hamstrung by paying such a big percentage of your budget on a Kohli, on a Glenn Maxwell, and on a Faf. You're really struggling after that to compete in the market for certain skill sets. We know that spin hitting batters, and particularly domestic spin hitting batters, are pretty thin on the ground. So, in this auction, for example, perhaps obviously they wanted Mayank Agarwal, they bid on him, they didn't get him, and if they paid Kohli 5 crore less, maybe they could have got Mayank Agarwal as well. So you know what I'm saying? So every decision that they take has a reaction to it, and by paying Kohli so much money with a clearly deficient skill set in that area, that has a knock-on effect.
So I think, what you guys mentioned, I had these fears in the last season where I felt that Faf and Kohli weren't the ideal pairing for spin. But I think what RCB have gone for this time is, they've looked at Faf's performance versus spin this year. This year against spin, I'm just bringing up some numbers. He averages 45.6 with a strike rate of 140.6. And what's even more fascinating is that against left arm spin, he's He's averaging 86 at a strike rate of 141.8. So I suppose somewhere they are hoping that Faf is able to replicate this in the next IPL, because he's done decently at CPL level as well, where you find pitches which grip a lot more than what they do in the IPL. I think that is one, and the other is they'd be hoping for Rajat Paridar to have a good season once again. Uh, the only issue that I felt was that they could have, like you said, they could have gone for another domestic batter who could have, done well against spin. Maybe someone like the who's this player from Rajasthan have gone for this player, someone with the surname of Vashisht. I think it's Akash Vashisht. I'm not sure of the name,
Hmm.
but I think they could have gone for someone like him. Uh, Apart from that, my bigger issue with them is that. I think that they need to start looking for replacements for a lot of players, because they are on the wrong side of 30s now. Faf is 38, DK is 37, Kohli's turned 34, and these players are not getting younger. Even Maxwell's, I think around 32, and so I think they need to start looking for replacements of these players slowly and steadily, because I think replacing all of them together is not going to be possible. And teams at the auction are smart as well. They sometimes know what players you're going to go for, and they just start raising the paddle to mess with your plans.
Dan, would you like to take this question on Avinash Singh? We know that RCB released a video on how they scouted them. I mean, do you have any analysis behind his selection?
Yeah, so okay, it's interesting because I didn't do a big run production model that I did have for the 2022 mega auction, which I obviously worked with Punjab Kings. So I had literally every single domestic player who was on the list was quantified with an expected boundary percentage, expected uh, balls faced, balls run score, whatever it might be. A lot of different metrics. So I had so much like fantastic information on whoever it was at any level. You could play as far down as Tamil Nadu League or something like that, and I would be able to model how that would look if they went up in level to the IPL. I don't know a lot about Avinash Singh, to be honest with you. I've brought up some stuff here, but there's just not enough. He's played a couple of games, low level T20, and that's all I can really see. So, for me, he's a completely unknown quantity.
This is
All right.
one question that has come in, Dan, and I want to know your thoughts on this. Mihin Migoda is asking Hasaranga at 5 to counter spin.
Not for me. I actually think that the Hasaranga is not as good a batter as a lot of people think, and certainly not as a finisher, as his 6% is pretty low. And his balls per dismissal figure is extremely low, certainly for a number 5. So you're asking a lot of someone who's got, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's like 10 balls per dismissal or something like that, to come in and bat number 5 for you is one, it's a lot to ask of the player, and two, it has knock-on effects for the team, because you're going to have to pick an extra batter because you lose stability, and also the batters in your group have to rationalise the fact that you're picking a bowler at 5, so the wickets got less value. Personally, it's not a move I would do.
So while we talk about their struggles against spin, they were actually saved last year by the introduction of Rajat Patidar in their squad, who went on to have a strike rate of 170 against spin. So probably they will be left with him again. They would want him to replicate that season. And Maxwell is currently injured, so that is another concern. If he doesn't turn up, that leaves them another batter short of someone who can actually bash spin.
One last question before we. Oh, sorry. I, you asked a question, right?
No, not really.
Oh, sorry. One question before we move on to the next team. I want to know this from both of you, not just Dan. how do you see someone like Harshal Patel at playing half the games at Chinnaswamy? Because uh, post him coming back from injury, he's actually gone for a lot of runs. I don't think his slower balls have got the dip that is required. And Chinnaswamy is one of the smallest grounds in the country. So, do you guys think that he can replicate the success of the two previous seasons, or do you think he's going to struggle at that stadium?
Maybe Dan, you can take
Yeah,
that first.
yeah, no problem, no problem at all. Yeah, so I mean, look, I'm always a bit confused about Harshal Patel generally because I was never really a massive buyer of him before he had that stunning season a couple of years back where he took how was it about was it
30 wickets, 31.
30 wickets? Yeah. And then I looked at the wickets that he took, and it was, I think, a lot of sort of 6, 7, 8, 9 type of batters, and finished off a lot of tails and stuff like that. And yeah, you've got to take those wickets for sure, but how much value do they have compared to the top order wickets and stuff is another matter entirely. So I'm not. I think Harshal Patel is a decent bowler, but I'm not. I think he's still not premium quality at this level. As far as the pitch dimensions go, and the Chinnaswamy is a bowler's graveyard at the best of times. So it's not going to do him any favors at all. It's not going to do any bowlers any favors at all. I think the jury's out for me, really, to be honest with you.
So,
Fair enough.
I mean, in the last couple of seasons, he's not played a single game at Chinnaswamy. So we have a person called Shweta in our team who is a ex Mumbai women's cricketer, and she says that there is a saying that goes around in Mumbai circuit that if you're short of runs, go and play at Brabon. So just looking at Harshal Patel's IPL numbers in Brabon, and in 3 games he has had an economy of 8.6, so 8.7. So probably that gives us a window into closest window into his returns at Chinnaswamy. But yeah, I mean, I would not bet him not giving a lot of runs at Chinnaswamy given his latest form.